Okay, so what we'll do now is go on to part 2 with Quick Mask, and John's going to show us how that works. Over to you, John.
Okay, so to some extent this starts off very similar to the previous presentation with the toadstools. So we'll just do a quick selection on the emu, and once again we'll use subject. It's a clearly defined subject. It does a pretty good job of selecting it, but if you look closely at it, it's only selected part of its legs and its foot.
Yeah.
And the same over here, and at the rear of it, down there's some feathers and things that aren't too good, and top of its head there's a couple. We can get away with some of these by them not being quite as good, but so long as we get them pretty close.
I just wanted to say too, John, this is the 2022-23 version of Photoshop. The latest version that's come out is 2.4, which has got a lot more AI capability. So the algorithms in the newer version, by the looks of it, in what I've had a bit of a play with, look as though they're a little bit more intuitive to the previous versions.
Yeah. This is my one at home is on the latest version.
Yeah.
And the result I'm getting here is very similar. There'll be bits that are different, but it's actually selected the leg exactly to the same extent on that as it has on this only marginally older version. If you've got a much older version of Photoshop, you probably find you mightn't even have subject selection, and you're going to have to paint in a selection. I'm not sure what happens with the layer selections on the really old versions. I would have used it, but you sort of get so used to the new version that you
you do.
The newer versions anyway, as they step along, that you don't always recall. So if you remember from the previous one, to fix something like that, you've got to use that quick mask there, and that now has
so that really highlights where the selection tool has missed that area down on the bottom of the feet.
Yeah, you can see the foot's missing altogether here, the big toe's missing here, and the back of the leg. So once again you need the brush tool, and I need X. I think I need black, and black should take that out. No, it's not. Black's adding it in. Plus, and that makes it a bit easier for me to see where I'm working.
So the shortcut key to zoom in on your keyboard for Windows is Control and the plus key. On a Mac, it's Command and plus.
Yeah. And if you want to move the image around on the screen, if you hold down the space bar, the little hand appears, and you can just push it up so it's in a bit better position.
That's the best one I like. I like that option.
And then you can just go down here, and you can be as careful as you like, and for the purpose of this exercise we mightn't be quite as painstaking, but just like before, if you want to check whether you've got it all, you can smaller. You go out here, and a bit smaller again for his toenail.
Now, I just come from the Flinders Ranges a few weeks ago, and I saw the biggest emu I've ever seen. They grow them big up there, and this thing had feet on it the size of an elephant. I swear it was a huge thing.
I'll tell you what, it's not until you get very close to them you realise how big they are.
They are.
Many years ago I was filming them in the filming one in the Kimberley. It was not as a wildlife shot, but as I was filming the close of cattle mustering by horseback as opposed to the start of helicopter mustering, and the cattle station I was on had a pet emu that thought it was a horse. And I was busy there filming, and the next thing in the viewfinder of the movie camera, I see a very close-up emu. And there it was with its feathers all puffed up, looking very aggressive. And in the end I had to drop the camera and boot it in the rib cage.
They're big animals.
Yeah, so let's make this a bit smaller again, and we'll just click on that and we'll see how we've gone, and you can see we've done a pretty good job.
Okay, so you've brushed in the area and the...
Yeah, so now that's our selection.
Yeah.
There's a little bit up around the tail and in round here that probably could be improved, and the main thing is to make sure your brush is a soft-edged brush, and I think I'm still on one, but if you go to the top of your screen where your brush tools are, you'll see a thing that gives you the size of the brush, which is 100, probably 100 pixels or something. And then there's a little arrow. If you push down there, there's a slider that gives you hardness, and you want to be right at the left for this because...
Nice and soft.
Yeah. Now you'll find usually that your brush doesn't work while that's up. You've got to click off there and get rid of that, and then your brush becomes active.
Okay.
And then you can just go where those bits of red are that shouldn't be, and I think I'm painting them out. Smaller again maybe. And there's a bit up here, but for the purpose of the exercise we don't need to worry about that. So if we go back there, yeah, I've got it still a bit I could have done there. So you do that. Now, what I wanted to mention at this stage is, with a photograph of an animal or birds in particular, you want your bird sharp but your background soft. So once you want, while this selection's active on this bird, to probably sharpen it at this stage. Now, ideally they say it's the last. So you would go up here to, I think filters where your sharpen is, isn't it? Yeah. Sharpen, and probably an unsharp mask. And can't think what I do. You don't have much here. That'll do. And you probably don't need that much sharpening on. Most modern digital cameras, actually, with the resolution they've got, you'll find the sharpening you need is minimal compared to what it was in the early days of
it
digital.
Pretty much does a fair bit in camera already.
Yeah, I think it does, even though they'll tell you it's a raw image that hasn't been touched.
Yeah.
The difference that comes out now is quite dramatic.
Yes.
So now you're going to want to change that background to make it just a bit more in balance with the density of the emu. So you would then go to select to that little circle again and do more or less what you did before, and just for no particular reason, pick levels rather than curves. And if you click on that, you should get this invert thing come up here. And now we should be active on that. If we invert again, you'll see that in the little mask square in your layers palette, the emu is white, which means that it's not masking. If you hit the invert one, now the background's the bit that'll get changed.
Right, so white is the background?
Yes.
And black is the subject?
Yeah, that's right.
When you're selecting the invert.
Yeah.
Right.
And we're going to alter the curve. We want it to be darker, so we move it to the left. No, I don't. We move it to the right. Brought that background up a bit so that it's more in keeping with the density of the emu without the emu disappearing into it.
So when club members and when you're looking at photos to give an opinion, how much emphasis do you put on things like the background and whether or not, you can tell whether or not layers have been used and so forth?
I don't know. If someone's done layers really well, I don't know that you could tell that they've been used. And as far as the backgrounds go, it's more or less a matter of taste, I suppose. You certainly don't want the in the case of an animal disappearing into the background unless your specific purpose is to show as camouflage, I suppose.
Yes.
Otherwise, you really want it to stand out a bit.
You want to give it that 3D effect, don't you?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
And that's the reason you leave the background soft if you can. You don't want that to be sharp because that also helps to emphasise the the birds in the foreground and the background further back.
Because sometimes, I guess, even, when we all go out and take a photo of a bird or something like that, I notice, say I particularly enjoy taking photos of raptors. Well, half the time it's the sky that's in the background.
That's right.
And you don't always have clouds.
No.
So it's sometimes very difficult to get that blend of separation between the subject and the background.
Yeah. And of course, when it's the sky, your big difficulty with birds is the fact that your camera's trying to average that sky with your
That's right.
With your bird, and so your bird comes out dark against the sky.
Yes.
And so, yeah.